If you're training for a race that's a mile or over in distance, you're mainly using your aerobic system. So that's what today's video is going to be about. It's going to be how to develop your aerobic system, as well as some of the adaptations your body makes just from running easy. But first, before we really get into like what to do to develop your aerobic system, I want to give you some of the science and let you know those adaptations your body is making so you can run faster and also have more endurance just by doing mostly easy to moderate runs. Okay, so let's get to the science. During an aerobic base phase, most of your runs will be easy, but you'll still be making important adaptations. One is the increase in the number and the size of mitochondria you have in your muscle fibers. So mitochondria converts the food we eat, so carbs, fat, protein, into actual usable energy. The more mitochondria you have, the more energy you can utilize as you run. Mitochondria also help to clear lactate, mainly in slow twitch muscle fibers. Another adaptation your body will make during the aerobic base phase is an increase in capillaries. Capillaries are tiny blood vessels that transport blood, nutrients, and oxygen to cells in your organs and body systems. Increasing the capillaries surrounding your muscle fibers means you can more quickly deliver oxygen and nutrients into your muscles. In other words, your body becomes better or faster at fueling your muscles so they can keep working how you want them to as you run. The third benefit of aerobic-based training is an increase in myoglobin, which is a protein that stores oxygen. If oxygen becomes restricted during exercise, myoglobin releases the oxygen to the mitochondria to produce more energy. Another way of putting it is that your myoglobin can serve as your oxygen backup to be used during a race. Easy aerobic running can also strengthen your heart, improve your time to fatigue, and help you better utilize fat as you run. During an aerobic base phase, the aim is to improve your aerobic system pretty much as possible before adding in more intense training. If you're racing anything over a mile, you're mostly using your aerobic system, which is why aerobic training is so important. Let's use a cake as an example. The cake's icing is your anaerobic system, and the cake itself, so the part made from flour, is your aerobic system. You need both for a good cake, but obviously the cake itself, the aerobic training, makes up most of the cake. The icing, or the anaerobic training, really is the icing on the cake for developing speed. You still want to add in speed during the aerobic base phase to work on your running economy. I'll save talking about running economy for another day, but basically adding in things like strides or light fartleks will keep your legs used to running fast during this phase. In combination with easier running, over time you may see your paces get a little faster while staying at the same effort or heart rate. The short bouts of speed will also help prepare your muscles and tendons for the speed work later on in your training. You can do something like 4 to 8 times 20-second strides every 2 to 3 days. You could also do something like strides on Monday and Friday, and then have a light fartlek of, let's just say, 6 times 2 minutes on Wednesday. Okay, so now you have some of the science, but let's further explain what aerobic runs are. So aerobic means with oxygen, and so both easy runs up to moderate runs are all going to really help to develop your aerobic system. What I like to do, and what seems to work really well for most people, is at the start of the base phase is to really do some runs that are truly easy and other runs that are more easy to moderate. So truly easy, you pretty much sing nonstop when you're running. It's not quite walking, but almost there. So your pace is going to be slow, and that's totally okay. For the easy to moderate, it's going to be a little bit faster than those truly easy runs. Effort is a little bit higher, but it's still a very easy run. Moderate, moderate is still easy. Sometimes I say moderate, and people think along the lines of harder, a little bit more challenging, or they end up only running a pace where they could only manage for about an hour and a half, where moderate is easier than that. So if you look at the high running training zones chart, which I'll throw up now, you'll see up tempo. Do not go into up tempo when I say moderate. So going back to how to actually apply this to a training schedule, what I like to do is to alternate between truly easy runs and then those easy to moderate runs. And so for the first couple of weeks, that might be most of your training schedule. Truly easy, but just not quite as easy, up to moderate for at least a chunk of the run. And just doing those easy to moderate runs alone, that's going to give you all the adaptations I said previously. So if you look at the high running training zones chart, what I'm talking about for easy is going to be all in the green. For the truly easy days, you're going to be like the first half of the green. For like the easy to moderate, you're going to be like in the second half of the green. So take a look at that. It's a great way to understand what I'm talking about in this video. So with that said, you can add in some speed during the aerobic base phase. What you don't want to do is do a lot of anaerobic work because if you do anaerobic work for too long, so think like VO2 max, pretty hard intervals, for eventually, if you do it for too long, you're going to reach a plateau or you're even going to hurt your aerobic system a little bit. So we really want to stay away from that during this aerobic base phase. You can do speed though, and so the speed you can do are strides, and you can also do some light farlex or some like short lactate threshold type workouts. Strides I love for a variety of reasons. They're going to help with running economy and your neuromuscular system. So in this phase, as long as no one's injured, I will add strides, maybe depending if they're used to strides or not, 2 times a week. If they're used to strides, we'll do 3 times a week, maybe every other day, something like that. And once you get used to strides, they should pretty much place no stress on your body or just very little stress and have a lot of benefit. One being is that they work on your elastic system. So think of your body working like a better rubber band, basically. And so when you work on that elastic system, you can run faster while maintaining a pretty easy effort. Moving on to farlex, because I like to work on running economy and neuromuscular fitness during this phase, I keep the fartlek intervals pretty short. So 30 seconds up to 2 minutes. And the important thing here is that they're not hard. Because the intervals are pretty short and I often give like a decent recovery, you can run pretty fast while maintaining a pretty, I'm not going to say easy effort, but definitely not a hard effort. If talking about perceived effort, we'll say like a tempo effort, or some people, if you use the 1 to 10 scale, it could be like a 7 to 8 effort. And yeah, that's the basic idea. We're just getting your legs used to running fast while keeping the effort still relatively easy. And this is also a great time to like start working on pacing, because with these fartlek sessions, you should always end a little bit faster than you started. What you don't want to see is that you start off so hard that you're getting slower as you go. So again, like work on pacing here. Make sure you pace it right. You should always start off a little bit easier effort-wise than where you end. So tying into everything I just said, let's keep those truly easy runs truly easy the entire time. So, but then when you alternate with the more regular, easy to moderate runs, so step up from those truly easy runs, those are the days I would recommend to add strides. And then the first couple weeks of the aerobic base phase, I would only add in a fartlek once a week, maybe twice a week after the first couple of weeks. But just start with one fartlek and then like strides. So let's just say, I'll give you an example. So let's do strides on Monday, fartlek on Wednesday, strides on Friday. And that's kind of how your week works. And then you're alternating those truly easy runs in between. So all this with the strides, the fartleks, the mostly easy runs. What you should see over time is that your easy paces get a little bit faster while your heart rate or your perceived effort is staying the same. Additionally, all this is going to help your body handle more miles and more intensity up ahead in your training. Another thing I want to touch on is a lot of people associate the aerobic base phase with building up your mileage. That's true for most people. However, I know there's a couple of people who live in very cold climates or just don't like the dark days of winter. And so it's hard to build up your mileage when you live in a place where you're just not seeing the sun or it's pretty cold. So, just staying consistent with easy mileage is going to help you when things warm up later on in late winter or the spring. But another thing you can do if you want to split up your time, you could do like some easy running, and then also split up your time on like the bike or the elliptical. Stay indoors, watch Christmas movies as you're on the bike or elliptical, and you're still going to get a lot of the same benefits by keeping those easy to moderate efforts on different like indoor machines. So that's definitely something else you could think about as well. If you're somebody who really struggles just by going perceived effort, or no, your perceived effort quite doesn't line up with like truly easy or easy, you can use recent, it has to be recent road race times and plug that into some running calculators. Most running calculators, they do give you an easy pace range. You can also go by heart rate. Heart rate's a great option. If you know your max heart rate and your resting heart rate, you can calculate your running zones. I like to use the 5 zones if I use heart rate. So yeah, you can calculate your own zones, but you can also, there are a few good calculators you can just search online, but you really do need to do a max heart rate test and know your resting heart rate to really get accurate numbers for those zones. So I'll just touch on max heart rate test if you want to do one. There's 2 things I like to do, or 2 options I like to give people. One is a 10-minute progression run, starting off, on the easier side, and then making sure you can end where you're really going all out that last minute, especially like that last 30 seconds is an all out sprint. And then you should be getting fairly close to your max heart rate during that. Another option I like to do is I either give 800-meter or 3-minute hill repeats. The hill is not steep, maybe like 4 to 5% grade. Just helps get your heart rate up a little bit. So for the hill repeats, I'll give a few to make it a full workout. But the first 2 reps, whether it's 800 meters or 3 minutes, is fairly easy, more of like that tempo-ish effort. And then on that 3rd rep, then you're going all out. But again, you still want to pace it. So like that last minute of that rep, that's where you can like really go all out. And so with both those tests, you should get close to your max heart rate. A lot of people can't get exactly there. So for some people, the number you get might be a little bit low, so you can add on just a little bit. But with this, when doing a max heart rate test, you do need to be a little bit fit because you don't want your legs to give out before you can reach your max heart rate. Okay, if I sold you on aerobic base training, check out highRunning.com. We do have a free aerobic base building plan. Okay, that is it for this video. I appreciate you being here so much. Until next time, keep running wild.